This is Emily Peck of Frayed Knot Farm, and I'd love to show you around our farm. We're located in Newberry, Ohio, which is Geauga County, Ohio, and that's about 30 miles east of Cleveland. My grandparents have been on this land for over 60 years, and they have grown up in this community. So over the span of time, it's been about a century that my family's been here. But they did not farm, actually. None of this was here even 7 years ago. So this space was actually just mowed grass. We didn't even have a driveway into this space. My grandparents built their house on the adjacent lot, and then they just had this extra space that they planted these beautiful dogwoods, red twig dogwoods, and then also these gorgeous pine trees. So you can see how long our family's been here based on how tall these pine trees are. But when I was getting into farming, they generously offered this space to me, and we hit the ground running. So we've since put in a driveway, put in an electrical pole that wasn't there before, and have created a really robust ecosystem. So this is our little farm stand that we open up in the fall and spring as like an open house. We don't do regular farm stand sales. It's just been more lucrative for us to have more of a event around it. So we just reserve it for that. Trying out some cover crop this year. These fields have been in since the beginning, so we are putting them to rest this year so that hopefully they will kind of regenerate for the next year. It's a mixture of oats and flax. You can see the little blue flowers, these cute little flax flowers, which is what linen is made out of, and a nice mixture to help rake up some of the compaction, add nutrients back into the soil. This is a beautiful space that my friend Zoe cultivates that we've affectionately called the nest. It's a mixture of vegetables, fruit, and flowers. So definitely using kind of a permaculture method and growing beautiful things here. So that's our little nest. And you will see a lot of willows around the property. They do really well here because we have a really high water table and heavy clay soil, so when it does rain, our water is very saturated. So we put in a lot of willows to help with drainage and also act as a windbreak. We also use the branches for making wreaths in the winter. Got some burlap, from some community partners that are getting rid of their burlap at a wholesale roastery, and they would just take it to the landfill. So we drive down there, pick up all the burlap we can get in our cars, and we use it in our pathways, as you will see shortly. These are our outdoor fields and our beautiful high tunnel where we harvest rainwater into these tanks. We don't actually have an irrigation well, so we rely on this rainwater, and we also work with a local spring company that brings in water and is able to fill these tanks if we don't have enough rain, which has been happening lately. So I'm filling up these tanks so that we can irrigate our tunnel. And this also helps with season extension. So we grow things in here year-round. Things aren't blooming year-round, but we do put in fall crops so that they come into the spring, and then we also are able to hold things in here longer into the fall. So we're particularly proud of these gorgeous dahlias that we've been growing in here for 3 or 4 years now. So the tubers are extra large, and we've been able to overwinter them so we don't have to dig them up, which is really awesome. We just put a thick layer of mulch and a tarp, and we are able to overwinter them, which we're now in zone 6, I believe. We just moved up a zone, previously 5B, and have a pretty short season. So we kind of go from, really our season starts June and then goes through like mid-October. But we can't really plant anything out till mid-May, so we rely on this tunnel a lot. And as I mentioned, we've got the tanks, we've got some drip irrigation in here, where we pump the water into with a small pump, and then we also start all of our seedlings back here, so we need water to water our seedlings. And this is Jules, who is going to deliver our CSA bouquets. So we're gonna just take a little peek at those. There they go, to our happy customers in town. So we deliver everything to Cleveland. We have a partner farm, Ohio City Farm, that has vegetables, and we offer a CSA bouquet share to add to that. And they're located in Ohio City, which is in kind of the heart of Cleveland. Another kind of nice recycling moment, we use these tarps that are recycled billboards actually, so those would go to the landfill as well, but we're able to use them to help solarize our fields, which allows us to avoid tilling, and kind of keeps the moisture of the beds, and it just kind of makes a nice clean seed bed that we can plant into. This is our original greenhouse, which is now part of what we call the farm museum. It originally housed our seedlings, but now I'm trying to make it a trellis. It hasn't been super successful so far, but it's a nice kind of reminder of how far we've come. This is our beloved shed that we built as a community project, with lots of helping hands over the course of a year. Friends and family contributed to building this from scratch, for our tools, storage, but then more importantly for our cooler. And this is our flower preservation area, where all of our florals stay nice and cool. So we use this for many purposes. Right now you can see a lot of greens, so it must be a wedding. We have some wedding prep going on that includes a ton of flowers from all over Ohio, a lot of flowers from our collab members from Northeast Ohio, also flowers from kind of our sister hub just south of us, the Ohio Flower Collective. And we also have some flowers from another local grower, Sweet Chicks Floral. So all Ohio grown, and of course our flowers. They're all Ohio grown, and we're able to house them in here and do all our wedding prep, which is awesome. It's very nice to have a cooler of this size. We also are able to run all of our collab pre-orders and pop-up items here as well, so we're well situated, not only as being a farm that's in kind of equidistance from other farmers, but we also have this resource that we can use to help house everybody's flowers. We also frequently house people's extra tulips and peonies in the spring, if they don't have space in their cooler. So super lucky to have this resource. It's seen a lot of flowers in its days. Here's where we make our bouquets. So this was wonderfully built by my stepfather and dear friend. And yeah, everything here has had kind of hands of friends, family, community members, and in some way involved some group of people kind of chipping in and allowing us to do what we can do. So it's really been a tremendous community effort to get to this point. And this is Jewel's herb garden, beautiful herb garden with a lot of fragrant herbs, also medicinal. So we use these for edible uses for ourselves and folks, but we also use these in bouquets, which makes like a really nice fragrant bouquet. I feel like it's kind of our signature. We've been able to kind of diversify the different kinds of herbs we use thanks to Jewel's knowledge of herbalism, and yeah, it's really fun to just kind of always having a new thing that we can incorporate and kind of surprise people with really interesting fragrances. Here's our little foxglove row. We also have field dahlias, so we do put some dahlias outside just to have as a second kind of supplemental dahlia succession. And then in the back we've got our beehive, which is sponsored by Great Lakes Brewery that we've worked with to collab with beer. So we are brewing an elderflower beer with them this year, which is really exciting. Last year we did a rose elderflower saison. That was delicious. And this year they are sponsoring a beehive for us. So we finally get to have honeybees. Everyone always asks if we have bees. Well, we have a lot of bees, as you can see. Bumblebees, all sorts of bees. We probably already had honeybees, but now we can actually get to have honey and get to taste what our fields taste like, which is a pretty magical experience. So there they go, doing their thing. And we have some woods that's really nice when it's a hot day and we can just kind of retreat back there and have a reflective moment. It's really a magical place out here, and it's a beautiful day. Yeah, this is kind of our unintentional intentional meadow that we call. This once was just mowed grass, as I mentioned, but it has now become kind of a wildflower field with a lot of native perennials, but also some invasive. So we try to keep an eye on that. And we let kind of everything else go for now until we need to use the bed space. And then we'll use these wonderful tarps to continue to grow beautiful intentional flowers. But in the meantime, we have lots of forage for different animals and insects to be able to thrive here and create this ecosystem. These are field crops, which Lexi is planting right now. Hey, Lexi! Lexi also manages the beehive that we just showed you. And we're just kind of getting our last babies in before fall. So these will kind of be emerging towards the end of September, early October. And we don't till here, we just, as you saw, solarize the beds, and then we use a broad fork to loosen up the soil, amend it with some organic fertilizer, and then we add some wonderful tilth compost to help it along its way. And all of the seedlings are also grown in tilth as well, so can't wait to see them emerge. Yay! Thanks for coming along.
Well, hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Slow Flowers Show with Deborah Prinzing. And today, I'm so excited to welcome Emily Peck of Frayed Knot Farm. Hello, Emily.
Hi, Deborah. Thanks for having me on.
You bet. We've been talking about this for a while. Thank you so much for joining me. You're based in Ohio. Can you tell everybody a little bit about where you're located? And we'll get the big question in, which is how did the name Frayed Knot come together?
Yes, for sure. Yeah, I'm Emily, and I started Frayed Knot Farm, which is located. I generally say Cleveland, Ohio. That's the biggest major city that we have close to us. We're just 30 miles outside of the city, but we are in a pretty rural area. It's known as Newberry. It's a small town in Geauga County, so north East Ohio, and we have about 3 acres here, and are on land that my family's been residing on for 60 years, and in the community for almost 100 years. So
Wow.
we have a lot of
Wow.
roots here, metaphorically and literally. Said my grandparents have been here for a long time. My mom was raised here, and in the house that I'm in right now, I'm in my grandmother's house, which is next to the farm.
I love it.
And I was raised in a community, a suburb, just 30 minutes away, closer to Cleveland, but would come out here to my grandparents' place all the time. So has really special memories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you were a young, I don't know, teenager or college student, did you ever envision your future life living on the land that your grandparents had farmed and like getting out of the city and creating a life around land and plants and flowers? So was that part of the vision, or are you surprised by that?
I'm a little bit surprised. I mean, I think always, retrospectively, you can look back and see kind of the stepping stones to how you got somewhere. So it's not the craziest thing in the world, but I definitely didn't seek out like this or ever could have imagined. My grandparents built their house on one plot of land, and then they had purchased a separate plot that was adjacent to their where their house was. And growing up, it was just 3 acres of grass that they cut. Actually, it was just a big open field. Cutting grass is a big pastime here in the Midwest. So yeah, lawn culture is a real thing, and I really just didn't think too much about it. My sister and I would just run out there and kind of play, and it was just like a wonderful space to kind of grow up in. And so there's a lot of agricultural roots in this community, but there wasn't actually a farm there yet. So I really couldn't have even imagined that land ever being a farm.
Wow.
But flowers and gardening was always in my life. So my parents and my other paternal grandparents and maternal grandparents, they all were very into kind of cultivating flowers and vegetables like on a small scale. So that definitely was instilled in me in a young age. So yeah.
I love it. Okay, well, the name Frayed Knot, was that your idea or did you inherit it? It's a great name.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I love it because I do feel like it gets the conversation starting. So thanks for asking. That was a name that I came up with, kind of. I mean, the term "frayed knot farm" is something, or "frayed knot," rather, was a term that my grandfather, who resided on this land, used. He was a real jokester. He loved like very punny jokes. And there's a punchline to a joke that honestly, every time I try to tell it, I kind of butcher it. But you can look it up. Everyone can
Okay.
look it up. And because it also has very different interpretations, but essentially it's the punchline is afraid not. And he would tell this joke like repetitively, and you kind of have to manufacture laughter at a certain point because you're like, yeah, I get it, I get it.
We heard that one before, Grandpa.
Yeah, and it's just like, okay. And then so my grandfather, he passed several years ago, before I even had the farm, unfortunately. So he wasn't able to, in physical form, see what we have here, but I really wanted to pay homage to him. And my mom actually eulogized him at his services, and she used that joke as a metaphor to talk about his life. And my grandfather and his family had a small business, a grocery business, just down the road for 80 years.
Wow.
And yeah, my mom just kind of used it as a metaphor to talk about how he wasn't afraid to kind of pursue that dream and to, travel and to, live his life in like a really beautiful way. And so when I was thinking about starting a small business, and especially a farming business, you kind of have to be fearless. So I was like, I want that as a mantra, like always, to just be thinking of that when I'm, like running on adrenaline, like how am I going to get through this? Be afraid not. So yeah, and
I
it just
love that.
to mean so many other things too, like um, we do weddings, and the knot is a term that's used, and we grow flax, and it kind of has this like frayed like look to it, and it's just kind of come full circle in a lot of ways. So
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, it has kind of two meanings because you are not afraid. Like that's a very, as you said, it's sort of a metaphor for just being this intrepid farmer and just going for it. And then sometimes when things are falling apart, you feel like the knot is fraying and unraveling. So I think you have depends on what your mood is that day, what you're thinking about.
Absolutely.
I
No, that
love
is a
it.
really good point. I honestly hadn't even really thought about that until I was saying it out loud. I was like, yeah, sometimes I really am feeling like afraid not. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
and yeah. And then we have like ties on our bouquets that are literally like kind of frayed knots, and
Oh,
just the little
sweet.
touches into it that people like to have that connection. So yeah, I think it's a special name.
It is. I mean, so many people have just names plucked out of thin air, and I love that there's a story there because
Mhm.
I feel like you're a storyteller in a lot of what you're doing. And what kind of led to me asking you to be on the podcast? Two things. One is you recently wrote a beautiful essay for the summer issue of Slow Flowers Journal, and I'll pop that up on the screen in a little bit so we can share it with people. And I'll also put the PDF link in our show notes so folks can read it. Love your writing, and I love that that worked out. But what led to that, as I recall, and tell me if I'm wrong, but you had written I guess in your newsletter maybe about this partnership, or maybe I saw it on your website, but this partnership with these fiber farmers and this fiber initiative. My background's in textile design, and so it really caught my attention because I'm always interested in what other types of agriculture are flower farmers able to get involved in? And I think fiber's sort of underutilized, and
Mhm.
that just led to me reaching out to you and asking to learn more. So let's start there. Can you talk a little bit about what led to that and what is the project?
Yeah, definitely. So I think I was probably a year or two into me starting Frayed Knot. I was like recently moved back to Cleveland, and I was just trying to, get integrated in the community and learn more about what was already going on here and get to know people that had similar values. And I just happened to go to this kind of like small business, like specifically like women in business meetup group, and there was these two women there that were really passionate and interested in like textiles grown and using regenerative techniques. And they were kind of literally saying my own spiel, but in textile language, and I was saying it in flowers and
Oh, I love
farming.
it. Yeah.
And we just kind of were like, whoa. And like I was like, I have never thought of like textiles like in that way. And they were like, I've never thought of flowers in that way. And they were just kind of, starting their journey of starting an affiliate group here, which is an affiliate of Fiber Shed. So there's Fiber Shed, which is was started in California by Rebecca Burgess, and there's satellite nonprofits and organizations all over the country, and they wanted to start the Rust Belt Fiber Shed version of that. So I kind of was lucky enough to be there kind of as they created that, and they wanted to kind of start launching initiatives with this flax project. And flax is what linen is made out of. And there is a history of growing flax in this region. And there is a huge also textile history in Cleveland specifically. So they really just wanted to start to generate energy around getting people to think about where do their textiles come from. So they said, do you want to grow some flax? And I was just like, sure. I was just like in the point of
Wow.
my farming career where I was just like kind of wanted to try anything and everything. So I was like, yeah, let's do it. And we decided to grow like a 5th acre of flax on the farm. I had this space, and it was completely a community like driven project. Like we didn't have any funding for it really at the time, so it was pretty much just like hand scale. Like we got compost out here, we spread compost all by hand, we seeded by hand, and then we harvested a few months after that. And it just brought a lot of people into the conversation, and I've been growing it on some scale ever since, just to continue educating people on the importance of understanding where their textiles come from, because there's I gotta fact check this, but there's almost like no commercial linen
Right.
in the United States.
Right.
So
Anymore. I mean, at one
anymore,
point there
we
probably
did.
was, right?
There's some really awesome, we learned a lot from some folks in Oregon, and Fiber Revolution folks out there, they finally developed a really awesome seed, but before that, even the seed was all imported as well. So it's been really awesome to see how that's evolved alongside our flower business over the last few years, and how many more people are engaged and understanding the dangers of fast fashion and being empowered by being able to grow their own clothes. So
Yeah. I was just going to pop up on the website or on our screen the Rust Belt Linen Project, because this is just visually, I think it's fun for people to see. Fiber Shed Rust Belt, which is the organization, and you're kind of a partner then to them, because they're not growers per se. They're fiber and
yeah,
fashion people, right?
basically Fiber Shed, which is now a nonprofit officially, and I'm actually on the board as well now. Fiber Shed as an organization is just kind of an aggregate of information, and it helps just create resources for folks in the region. So we're not doing one specific thing. We're just kind of helping support different projects. And there's so many amazing growers. And then there's a lot of consumers and also artisans that want their hands on good products. So it's just like we've been trying to connect folks and not, just kind of break up that isolation, which can happen, especially when you're in rural spaces. So
yeah, I see on this map this density of red dots in the Cleveland area. So if Frayed Knot is in here somewhere.
yes, yeah,
But
for sure.
to look that there are now 52 participants is really amazing, and you're obviously listed here, one of the growers. What is the flax? You said it's grown by seed. Is it a grass, or how would you describe it?
It grows similar to grass. It's not in like the grass family, but flax itself, it does grow similar to like oats or rye, or it's a really nice kind of cover crop almost.
Okay, almost like a grain of some kind.
Yeah, so I mean,
Uh-huh.
flax, like if you ever had flax in like your granola or your smoothie or whatever, it's the same exact seed. And
Wow.
some varieties you can grow that can also be for edible and textile use, but the particular seed we use is typically bred for textile use. It means that it has a longer fiber, so the actual plant itself is going to be a lot taller, and because you want those really long lines of fiber, it's easier to utilize in weaving and then making the textiles. So but it grows like we basically broad seed it really close together. So broad seeding is just kind of taking a handful of seeds and mean, you can get machinery to do it, but we've just done it hand scale, and it's just kind of like throwing the seed out there like you would grass seed. And then, you want it kind of to be densely planted so that the plant grows really tall and doesn't get outcompeted by weeds. And it actually has like this very beautiful blue flower. And so it's like very like magical and mystical when you see this like because blue is just not a very common flower
Right. It's
color.
just kind of this drift of blue in your little meadow of flax. I love it.
Yeah, so it's just unfortunately it's not really great as a cut flower because the petals drop immediately, but it's really pretty just to see. And I do cut it. Actually, the seed pods are really beautiful. So I cut it and I dry it, so it makes a really lovely dried arrangement.
Hmm.
So I do utilize it in flower arrangements as well as like using the textile. But yeah, after it's ready to be harvested, it goes through a kind of a intense processing of like breaking it down to become like usable fiber. And we've gone through that whole process by hand and done a lot of demos to show people. And of course, there's machinery to do that, but right now it's hard to find folks that will make like machinery for like a medium scale operation. So
Right.
we are holding out hope that that one day can happen. And then we can because now we've proven that so many folks can grow it and it grows well here in this region, now we just have to get that kind of middle part
Scale
until,
it up a little bit.
yeah. And then we also have like folks that really want to use local linen, but it's like there's a little bit of still a gap that needs to be filled there. So,
Well, I'll share the link to the Rust Belt Fiber Shed site, and along with some of your other partners, we're going to talk about just to show maybe an idea of resources other people could explore. This is not your only collaborative endeavor, though, Emily. It's sort of a whole philosophy for how you operate Frayed Knot Farm. Can you talk a little bit about how this has all evolved in like the last 5 to 10 years? You said that your partners just had the 10th anniversary of that business, and you're also involved in that somehow. So I want you to kind of pull it all together for me and for our listeners.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, I like that you said it's our philosophy. That's very much like our ethos and what we want to promote. Like I might have started it, but it's really like through a collection of, other folks like dreams that this is all can't come together. And I've always wanted to just bring people into the fold and just realizing this is a lot what I put in the article, but just that, yeah, you can't do this alone.
Yeah.
It really takes a village. And as you mentioned, yeah, my husband started a composting business 10 years ago with some friends, and they just celebrated their anniversary this last weekend. So I'm kind of coming off the high of that. I started my farm 7 years, so I was a part of like seeing their business grow for 7 out of the 10 years, and it's a pretty awesome and convenient thing to have another small business in the composting industry grow alongside your farm. They kind of go hand in hand. So I feel extremely grateful to have met them early on, and yeah, just kind of help support each other.
I love
And
it.
yeah, so that's one. As we talked about the fiber shed.
What
Um,
is the compost business called?
oh yeah, of course. It's called Rust Belt Riders is the company name for they haul food scraps all over the city. They from everywhere from hospitals to private residences. So they collect all that food waste that's getting diverted from the landfill, and they make it into nutrient-rich soil. So they make it into like a compost, and they also make soil blends for like potting mix. So early on in my farming career, I was really struggling with finding good potting soil, as I'm sure so many growers understand that struggle. And a lot of people get it shipped all over the country just to get good soil. And
That's
for us to
crazy.
have like a local source, and it's literally made from the food scraps of this city is a really amazing thing. So I'm super lucky that they've been able to perfect their blend, and I use all of their products for my seed starting, for my mending, everything. So
So do you contribute to the compost too with your whatever your botanical waste is or your clippings and
yeah,
that sort of thing?
I do. Yeah. So um, I contribute like any flower waste that we have. Like we do have a little bit of a compost pile on um, our space on the farm, but as a lot of farmers would know, like that's a whole nother like thing to get into. Like you can't just like throw stuff in a pile. So it's actually kind of a running joke because we have like the worst compost pile ever like personally on the farm. So we let the professionals do it, and we take
Yeah.
most of our stuff to Rust Belt, and then Till Soil is their soil brand. And we also, as a household, I also contribute my household food waste to them as well. But if we ever have like a big event or things like that, we'll take excess waste to them. So
Wow.
yeah, it's really cool to literally be kind of full circle. Our waste gets turned into something of value, and then we can use that value to continue to create this endless cycle. And then all while preventing it from going to the landfill, which is contributing significantly to greenhouse gas emissions. So
Mm,
yeah,
yeah.
it's super great partnership and good friends. And
Wait, were you buying compost from them and then you met your husband through the transaction or how did that come about?
yes, basically. um, yeah,
You're the best customer.
yes, exactly. Yeah, I had moved back to Cleveland, and similarly to how I met the folks at Rust Belt Fiber Shed, as you can see, there's a theme. Rust Belt. we're
Yeah, I
very
love it.
proud. We're very proud Rust Beltians. And yeah, that's Rust Belt. For those that don't know, is just a term to describe kind of the industry that once was here in this city, and we're kind of trying to bring that back and pay homage to it. So, but yeah, I met them. I was like, again, looking for folks to get involved with. Like, I just thought I had just moved from New York City, actually, that has a lot of amazing compost initiatives. And so when I heard that, like, somewhere in Cleveland, because as you like a lot of people, they move from their hometown and they kind of like get disenchanted by it. And so I kind of, when I was moving back, I was like, oh, nothing's going to be going on here. I'm going to have to like, it's going to be struggle. But then of course, like there was just so many vibrant organizations, like, doing all these things that they were doing in New York City too. So I think people, yeah, undervalue and underappreciate what's going on in kind of the Midwest and the heartlands, and
Yeah.
is really cool. So of course I needed good soil, and I found them, and yeah, I just started to become naturally friends with everybody because we were starting small businesses, and they needed support and farmer feedback, and I kind of was there when early testing the soil to see how it was working, and yeah, and then with my husband it evolved from there. So yeah, I feel
What's his name?
his name's Michael Robinson, and yeah,
Okay.
he's one of the co-founders. But now the business is actually a worker owner business, and there's 14 or 16, I believe, worker owners of which is about makes up half of their staff. So
Wow,
he
that's
was like
cool.
super passionate about not just making compost, but making it a space that everyone is treated with equity, and has ownership in the business. So I've really been inspired by that, and I think that also has helped to contribute to a lot of the initiatives that I've started on the farm, and like be in cooperation with folks and be collaborative with them. So
Mm. Well, there's
yeah,
a theme with both the fiber project and the compost project of regenerative agriculture. So that sort of aligns with how you approach flower farming as well, it sounds like.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, like I said, you just can't do this alone. And I just am always seeking out folks that have other skills that I don't like. It just, I think a lot of times you can feel pressure to try to do it all and try to be everything. And I think farming, especially, as despite often being seen as like an unskilled job, it requires so many skills. And um, but knowing like what you're good at and what you're not, like I said, we're not necessarily the best composters, so let's like work with, let's help promote these awesome composters. And let's, we don't know a ton about textiles, let's work with these folks that
Yeah.
I have a desire to grow the flax, but I don't have as much time to like actually break it down and process it. So let's work with folks that can have the skill to do that.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then we also have like our collab partnership, our flower collab, and
Yeah,
that.
I'm gonna pop that up on the screen while we're talking because this is just another example of you seeking out people to kind of I guess just not have to be a solopreneur. Like you're finding people who you can walk alongside what they're doing, and hopefully it'll feed both of you. So I have Frayed Knot Farm up here on the website. The collab wholesale for florists. This is what you've been part of. Are you one of the founding members of this?
Um, that's hard to say, honestly. I think so. Yes, I think so. Yeah.
Early on, early on.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I do think I am, alongside many other folks. So I
Hmm.
don't want to take too much
Yeah.
credit for the idea, but I definitely was there since the beginning. And I've kind of emerged as a leader for various reasons. A lot of to do with the location that we're at. It's kind of in the middle of like, a dozen different flower farms in our area. So yeah, this kind of came about. There was a couple different Ohio meetup groups, and excuse me.
Yes, I remember that from other regions of the state, right?
Yeah, so we had like kind of a winter meetup of folks all over Ohio, and we would just kind of talk shop and talk crop and like share ideas and see how we could help each other. And a few years into that, a smaller group kind of started to form of folks that were in this like closer area, because those were folks from all over the state. And we started to
Oops.
want to get together in our area. So we started to meet, and a lot of credit goes to Rosie Standish of Field of Blooms, who's in our area, and she was seeing the emergence of a lot of other collaboratives in Michigan, and in other areas around
Yeah.
us, and
And I
really,
sometimes use the term flower hub, wholesale flower hub.
yeah,
That's sort of, yeah.
for sure,
Yeah,
and
I feel
just
like Slow Flowers really birthed a lot of those just in terms of creating topics for people to talk about how to um, you know, how to do this because there's no roadmap. It's everybody's sort of it's not a one size fits all. Everyone has to tailor it to their area and you know who the players are, what the flower mix is, and who are the customers, right?
absolutely, yeah. I think, yeah, we were all realize, and yeah, I think that a lot has to do with like the slow flowers community, and just I think that has burgeoned so many small farms. And we were all gathered, and we're like, okay, we're all kind of like these really passionate growers, but we're really small scale. How are we going to ever like be attractive to florists who need like really large quantities of product? And how are we going to have time to logistically be able to do deliveries and invoices and all those things? And we're like, how can we combine forces? And it took a few years of just talking about that to just figure out what exactly that would look like. But it started off by like us just buying flowers from ourselves, and because we always need like to supplement flowers. You have a big event, and then you
Right.
are all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, my zinnias aren't ready. Let me call Patty and see if she's got anything. And so we were already doing that, and
Okay,
we're
are
like,
most of you farmer florists then, or enough of you that you're Or
Um,
was it even just for, like, fulfilling market demand?
yeah, market demand, or even like a florist wanted something and
Mhm.
we're like, "Oh, this floor, I want to really keep this contact, but I don't have half of this product
I see.
to
That
put
makes
it
sense.
in." So it turns out now that it's mostly growers and there's only a few folks that are doing events, but it started off very much of just like trying to help each other out and kind of simplify the process of buying from each other. And so I kind of volunteered to be the space to do that. I have a cooler, fortunately, and I'm, like I said, in the middle kind of equidistance from folks that are more north and more south of us. And now it's grown into like a full scale kind of florist wholesale, and we also
Wow.
offer retail as well, to folks that want to do like DIY weddings.
I saw that when I was popping up the website. So you have found a balance between wholesale to florists and satisfying that retail customer basically, right?
Yeah, we're trying. I mean, I think our whole mission and like the mission of Frayed Knot as well is just trying to get as many local flowers into folks' hands. So yeah, thank you for being such an inspiration in that as well, Deborah. Like, I think that's what keeps us going.
Wow. Well, it sounds like you've got a good group. So your Frayed Knot is sort of the hub where florists come pick up their orders. And prior to that, I guess farmers bring their orders and it all kind of happens on your property.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
So
One
yeah,
more
we have
thing.
yeah, actually today is our drop off day. So as we speak, outside these halls, like our farmers are dropping off their beautiful product. And after we have like sales that go up over the weekend, so florists can place orders over the weekend, and then we organize that. And one of my colleague who leads the website sales, Katie Travis of Dottie's Flower Farm, runs all of our online support, and then I run all of the kind of like actually organizing our orders, pulling what we need for the week, and then tomorrow we have pickup so florists can come get their orders, and then we also offer like on-site sales. So we do like a market style pop-up where florists, even if they haven't pre-ordered, can come shop like what we have, and that's really nice for them to just see visually product and pick up extras. But it's really nice for the farmers because a lot of times they have difficulty predicting what is going to be available the following week. So if they aren't able to do that, they can bring that last minute and still get sales. So it's really nice to see like so many small farms growing because we're able to create this market for them.
I love it.
So yeah.
What was the year you actually established, and in the current model that that this led to?
Well, the like kind of farmer to farmer started in 2020,
Of
which
course. No
we
surprise.
yeah, we had a plan to like do more florist sales obviously that year. I think that would have been our official launch year, but as everyone knows, all the weddings ceased to exist. So we just did the kind of farmer to farmer, and so I'd say 2021 is when we really started the model that we have now.
Mm,
So
that's
what is
great.
that? I don't know. 21. That's
Yeah.
three,
Well
4 years. Yeah.
well, Emily, you said you're gonna shoot a little video that we can share at the end of this, so maybe you can point out, like, the area of where the collab takes
For
place, so
sure.
people
Yeah.
can envision it. Is it go from, like, spring to fall? What's the length of time in the year that you are offering product?
Yeah, we started having product around mid-April. Myself and a couple other growers do have tunnels, so we're able to grow some stuff on that shoulder season. And then, obviously Mother's Day is a big one, so we always try to get a few weeks in before that. And then we go usually until mid-October, maybe end of October. And a lot of our growers dry product, so we usually do like a dried flower market at the end.
Love it.
Yeah, so
That's great. Well, you touched on a lot of these collaborations in the piece that you wrote for our current issue of Slow Flowers Journal. I just wanted to pop it up on on the page here on the screen, and the the essay is in our From the Heart um, department, I guess. Every issue we try to find someone to share a personal story. So here is the essay we called Farm Life, the Future of Farming is in Community. This photo is of the collab group, right?
Yeah, yeah. So some folks have like literally moved. So not everyone is in the group anymore. And then we have a lot of new growers.
Yeah.
We have like 12 growers this year. We got to get a good group pick. It's
You
really
need a
hard.
new
It's really hard to get a bunch of farmers together when it's actually nice outside. So
and you have buckets of flowers to share.
yeah, but this was a really fun event that we did where we just highlighted the product that we had, and we had florists come out to a neighboring farm and just kind of make bouquets and get to see like how quality, what the quality of our product is, and how much variety we have. And I think it's always we're constantly continuing to educate people on the value of local flowers.
I paged forward a little too quickly, but here you are with a couple of your team members, and you did talk about the fact that you aren't completely solo. You now have grown to the point where you can have some seasonal help at Frayed Knot, right?
Yeah, this is Jules and Lexi, and they're incredible. And I'm just so grateful that it isn't just me alone now. And we're really moving into a space where we're all kind of taking responsibility of the farm and like working together, not just to do, specific tasks, but really like work together as a team and a partnership to grow the farm. Because, yeah, I that's how I see the future of where we're going, is just like integrating more voices. And I'm really grateful that I was able to start this, but I'm even more grateful to see what the future holds in collaboration and getting other folks with other skills, like I said, and interests. And yeah, Jules like has a huge passion for herbs and medicinals, and that's like created this really lovely addition to like our bouquets and our products. And Lexi is works at Great Lakes Brewing Company, which is our like local brewery. And we've been able to do beer collaborations with them, which is super fun. And yeah, she's really just super great at connecting us with partners in the community. So I never would have been able to do those things on my own. So yeah, I just hope that the piece encourages folks to not just get hard on themselves when they feel like they can't do it all, and know that what we're up against as farmers and changing climates, like it has to be done with other people, and leaning on each other for that support. So
Yeah. I love it. Any of the other things that you featured in the story that you want to touch on, that you're still involved with? I mean, sure, there's still like opportunities to the point where now you can't even say yes to everything, right?
yeah, for sure. And I think that I definitely have been strategic about them. I've just found people, luckily, that have similar values. And yeah, at a certain point, you do have to say no. And I think just kind of hone in on the relationships that you do have. But two of the ones that I also mentioned in the piece that I want to highlight are one, Ohio City Farm, which is a urban farm in the city of Cleveland. And they are run by this organization that resettles refugees in the city, because we're a really big hub in Cleveland for refugee resettlement.
Wow.
So folks that work at that farm are newly resettled folks from all over the world, and they have a beautiful vegetable share, but don't have really room for flowers. So we were kind of in relationship together and talked about doing a flower CSA. So we are an add-on to their vegetable share, and their customers can buy flower bouquets weekly in addition to the vegetables. So that's been an awesome partnership. And then also some dear friends, Jenny and Andrew of Room Service Boutique, and now they have a French cafe that they just opened up, and wanted to highlight that because they were really early supporters in us and helped us launch our CSA program in the first place. I always talk to folks that are starting like subscription services or CSAs to find folks like Jenny and Andrew, because the deliveries and the logistics can be a lot of work. But why not partner with folks that care about what you do and also want to highlight it in their shop, and then also hopefully get some patronship to their space, and then they can help support that pickup instead of you having to do it all. So yeah.
That's really, really amazing. So you have the CSAs both through the home goods restaurant pickup, and then do you also have one on your farm, or how are you managing all of that? Because it is a big lift.
Yeah, so we did scale back our subscriptions a little bit this year so we could focus on our wholesale and the collab.
Yeah.
But in previous years, yes, we were the restaurant and home goods store. They were a pickup location. Now we're just offering retail bouquets to them.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, which is really nice. And then with Ohio City Farm, they've become our exclusive like CSA pickup. So they have actually 2 locations that folks can pick up from. So again, it makes it really easy on us to be able to just aggregate it through them. So we don't actually have any pickup on our farm, and that's kind of by design too, because we're a working farm and we have some really awesome events through the year, but we're not really situated to have like kind of that management. So it's nice to have partnerships, like I mentioned, to be able to support that. So
well, that's the theme of this conversation and the theme of the essay that you shared, in that it's just it's hard. It's hard.
yeah.
I know farming is hard, and if you have people who make that journey more enjoyable just because of feeling that they've got your back and you've got theirs, it just also elevates everyone, and obviously elevates your community. And it sounds like a really beautiful community that you have built, and in the greater Cleveland area. So I wish I could come visit. Sounds wonderful.
Yeah, you're welcome anytime.
Okay.
Definitely. We have a lake. It's beautiful. It's a great space, and I mean I think Cleveland's really well situated to like facilitate a lot of these partnerships too, and that's why I love this city so much, because it makes it easier to meet people and be able to form these connections, because everyone kind of has this like solidarity with each other and love for the city. So I think I think you can replicate this kind of model anywhere, but I think it's been especially successful in like the kind of smaller city that we do have. Yeah, and I
love
think
it.
I hope people feel encouraged just to ask people in your community how they might want to support, and you'd be surprised like how many people really have something that you might not have, that it can be mutually beneficial.
I love it. I love it. Well, we could keep going, but I'm going to let you go because I know you've got a wedding to design for, and I didn't know the collab was going on today, but I'm so excited to share this conversation. Emily's going to also take a little video, and we'll add that. And then I have more photos that you shared that we weren't able to use with your column. So I'll put those in our show notes when this airs, stillflowerspodcast.com. So best wishes for the rest of the season. And what do you do in your downtime, Emily?
What downtime?
I don't know, when the dried flower season is over.
Yeah, then that's planning season. But no, I mean, I mentioned the lake. I love to go swimming in the lake. I have 2 very cute cats that I like playing with. I mean, all jokes aside, like I think I don't want to glorify like burnout or working too hard. I think absolutely folks need to rest, especially farmers. They can get, as I said in the article, it's really easy to get completely consumed by it. And I've been trying really hard this year, especially to like separate myself a little bit from that and create a better work-life balance. But that being said, like I do love what I do, and I love like the folks that I get to interact with. So it does feel like a lot of times just such a joy to like take on these projects and work with them. But rest is important, and finding time off the farm and out of work is also important. I love like kind of doing embroidery and like textile work. Actually, I've been really getting into
Oh,
on the side.
wonderful.
So I've been trying to do that as I've been trying to relearn what a hobby means.
Well, it's a lifestyle that so many people aspire to, and so few people can actually follow through on it. And I just admire you so much for being honest and transparent and sharing your story. And I'm excited to share it with the broader Slow Flowers community through the podcast and the video. So thank you, Emily. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I have to say, like, I've been listening to the podcast since I started farming, so this is a really big honor, and I've like been so inspired by so many of the stories that you've told, and it's really helped me to get to this point. So I really appreciate it.
Thanks. And now you're one more voice in that collection. So thank you.
Thank
We'll
you.
talk soon, Emily. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Bye.